Hey, it's Yanni Peguero. Welcome back to the Lion's Garden podcast. Today we're going to talk about fear. And before you run away and, and say, "Oh my God, I don't want to talk about that," I'm just going to tell you, I feel like a real expert on fear for so many reasons, and we're going to go into some of them today. And I'm going to give you some tools where you can recognize when you're feeling paralyzed by fear and how to move forward. All right, here we go. All right. Okay. Fear. Everybody's favorite topic, right? Oh, man. All right. Fear and acknowledging it is literally one of the most important things, one of the most important actions, ways of being, literally one of the most fucking important things that you can acknowledge in your life. And the sooner that you realize that, the easier your life is going to become. And you're like, all right, Annie, what are you talking about? Why is it so important? In my coaching business over the last 13 years, the number one thing that paralyzes people is fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of being judged, fear of being abandoned, fear of rejection, fear of being exposed, fear of being visible. I mean, you just put in whatever fear you want, and everybody has experienced some level of fear and some level of running from it, numbing it, trying to push it down, push it aside, pretend it doesn't exist. Literally, everything, addiction, divorce, imposter syndrome, self-sabotage, all of these things that, make us constrict and shrink down and shrink back. It's all fear-based. And, man, so many rabbit holes to go down, but I'm going to stick to my topic here, which is, my own fear, my own acknowledging of it, and what that opened up. And as I share this, my ask of you today is to, hear my words, hear my story, and apply it to yourself. Apply it to your own life and to your own inner dialogue so that you can see and experience where fear is playing a role in your life. And I'm going to give you some tools of how you can not be fearless. Okay, that is not what this episode is about. Fearlessness is a complete myth. Fear is there to protect you. Fear is an incredible, incredible force, and it's there to it's there to keep you from being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. I mean, that's what it is. Your fight or flight response is based on your primal instinct to survive. And once you realize that you are not under attack in most instances in your life where fear is here to keep you safe and inevitably is keeping you small, keeping you trapped in this little bubble where you continually say to yourself, I know I can do this. Why am I not taking action? What is holding me back? Why do I feel paralyzed? And what we're going to do today is name it. Okay, we're going to name it, put a label on it and say, I am definitely afraid of this, like whatever it is for you. And by the end of this episode, my hope, dream, plan for you is that you are able to take a look at what you're afraid of, whatever it is, give it a name and feel the fuck into it. Feel into it. Allow it to be there. Give it space. And make a choice. And that choice is going to be scary. I mean, it's going to be scary as fuck. And you're going to find yourself wanting to quit. You're going to want to say, what am I doing? Okay. But hopefully, through some practice, maybe some iterations of it, you're going to come out on the other side of fear and the light is going to be shining on your face. You are going to feel like the ocean is just washing over you. You're laying there in that surf and those bubbles of ocean water are just, bubbling up all around you and you are feeling renewed, rejuvenated. And you'll say, man, what was I so afraid of in the first place? And it's almost like this distant memory. So I spent the majority of my life, 41 years, living in fear, feeling rejection, feeling abandonment because I was relinquished at birth. I was given up for adoption at birth. And this is a story that I created in my head. The story that I created was, I am not worthy. I am not good enough. My own mother gave me away. What's wrong with me? And it wasn't until I was laying there nursing my daughter on the night before my 41st birthday, and I said, you know what? I have got to do something. Not only that, I've got to be the person who stops this feeling before I pass it on to my girls. And that for me was the turning point. It was the shift, the trajectory, the pattern fucking interrupt that I needed. I needed to look at my daughter while I was nursing her and say, holy shit, I'm going to pass this on to you, and I do not want that. I'm going to pass this not enoughness that I'm carrying, this imposter syndrome, this who the fuck am I type thing. So I did a video on my 41st birthday, which is where I'm celebrating the 7th anniversary of that. And I did this video on Facebook, live video on Facebook, asking for help in finding my birth mother so I could thank her for this beautiful life. And I was so afraid, of so many things. Number one being I was afraid that I was going to hurt my family, my adoptive family, the only family that I've ever known. And I was so afraid that I was going to hurt them that, I questioned so many times, is this the right thing to do? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing this so publicly? And the answer for me, it's not going to be the answer for everyone, but the answer for me was, I have to do this. And the reason why I had to do it was to stop, to have this incredible pattern interrupt for my daughters. And, whether people agree with that or not, that was, and I still feel that was the 100% best decision for me. I was also so afraid of what I was going to find. Oh my gosh, it could be more rejection, more pain, more trauma, more abandonment. I mean, could I handle that? Right? Like, could I even deal with that? Did I want to reopen a wound for somebody else? I mean, that was big. That was real. And also, again, I said, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to reopen that wound. Whatever that wound looks like, that's not my wound, right? That was the choice of somebody else to give away a baby. Baby just happened to be me, okay? So that was the choice of somebody else, and I couldn't carry that burden, that pain, that trauma, that choice anymore. I just knew that I needed answers for my own wholeness, for my own completion of medical history questions, for my daughters, and I needed those answers. And for me, when I weighed on the scales, what was more important, having the answers, whatever it was the most important thing for me. So I knew that I was living in fear of these answers, whatever it was. Fear of finding the answers, fear of not finding the answers, just so much fear. I mean, incredible amounts of fear. I'm laughing at it now, but you guys, it was deep, it was rich, it was potent, and it was scary as hell. And it was that one video that I did 7 years ago where I said, help me to find her so I could thank her for this beautiful life. And I look back on it and I say to myself, well, if what I found was different, because, just a short kind of, bit of my own personal adoption story is that that day I did not find my birth mother, but I found my birth family. She was one of 10 children in a large family, and she gave birth to me just a week and a half after her 16th birthday, and she decided to give me up for adoption so she could give me a better life and have a life for herself. And she died in a car accident 16 years later when I was 16 years old. So I met 7 years ago yesterday all 9 of her brothers and sisters and most of my 26 first cousins, and also my paternal grandfather, who also met my mother and father. I mean, it was just an incredible life-changing, life-shifting moment for, like literally hundreds of people, with myself and my daughters and my husband kind of in the middle there. And I'm sharing this because it was so scary. And now, like, all of the fear that I have in my life about, just a variety of things, mostly now as a coach, all of that seems manageable. It all seems manageable because of this incredible fear that I wouldn't say overcame. I didn't overcome it, because it's fear is just such a crazy thing, like true fear, that it's something that I leaned into, that I said, okay, fear, I see you right there. I got you, you got me, and we're going to do this thing. And I'm going to carry you over this threshold, right? Like just for a visual, I'm going to walk with you, fear, into this other realm. We're going to walk together into this place. And we're going to let the chips fall where they may, right? We're going to see what happens. We're going to go on this adventure. We're going to navigate this together. You're not going away. I'm not going to drink you into oblivion like I did for so many years. I'm going to walk with you, and we're going to do this thing, because fear is just going to pop up in another way. In another way in life. So that whole myth of fearlessness is exactly that. It's a myth. It's a complete myth. You have to recognize that your fear is there. So the tools that I promised you are just that. Really looking at what that big F word, right? That big fear is for you. That thing that keeps popping up over and over again in your life. And visibility, right? Like that is something that, a lot of the coachees, a lot of the clients that I work with that are entrepreneurs, business owners, they, a lot of the time they will talk about fear of being seen, even though they want to sell their products and services. They have some fear of being seen, mostly walking in their truth. Like, if somebody knows the true me and all of my flaws, Are you still going to allow me to be your coach? Well, I mean, gosh, I hope so, because we're all humans living this human experience. We all have our flaws and all of the things. So, that's just one example. Another example is failure, right? Like the fear of not making it or falling short or not reaching your goals, which can become very paralyzing and prevent you from even taking that step forward, or not taking the step in your true fucking glory that you would take it. Because if you put all of your efforts in and then you fail horribly, like, where does that get you? And for the purposes of this episode, what I'd like to bring to the table and bring to the forefront for you is really looking at what you're afraid of and asking yourself, well, what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst possible thing that could happen if I walked with my fear on this adventure? Held its hand, snuggled it, whatever. Just got really up close and personal with this fear that you have and allowed it to accompany you as you take one step, 2 steps, 3 steps in the direction of where you want to go, where you want to be. So in that sense, in that way, you are becoming the person who allows yourself to feel your fear and then continues to do the thing. Much like I did on January 22nd, 2017, where I pressed, live video on Facebook, scared as hell. And I did that video, I did the thing, and I turned off the video, I went about my day. Scared, man, like really, really afraid, but knowing that it was the best possible thing for my family. And I didn't know what I was going to find, like I shared. I didn't know if it was going to be something horrible, something more awful than I could have ever imagined. And I was ready for it. I mean, that's not what happened. So how can I truly measure my amount of readiness? But I can really think back to that moment where I said, okay, I am releasing attachment to the outcome. I am not going to future pace myself into a place where I know exactly what's going to happen, because I didn't. I literally had no idea what was going to happen, and neither do you. You don't know what's going to happen when you say, okay, I'm going to walk with my fear and I'm going to take little steps towards the desires of my heart, the desires of my wholeness. So, okay, how do you do that? Right? Like, you're like, okay, so I'm asking you to identify your fear and name it. Say what the actual thing is that you're afraid of. Maybe it's not knowing the answers. Maybe it's fear of failure. Maybe it's fear of judgment. Whatever that fear is, naming it out loud to yourself. You don't have to do a live stream video on Facebook. You just don't. Unless you do. I mean, maybe you do. I don't know. But it doesn't have to be that extreme. But it does have to be something that you yourself look at and you put a name to it instead of just saying, I'm afraid. Really putting a name to that prickly feeling that shows up in your solar plexus. That prickly, want to throw up, nauseous, uncomfortable feeling that is there when you even go there, into that place of fear. And just sit with it. Sit with it. Allow yourself to really sit with your fear. And what does that look like? Well, it looks like just getting yourself into a comfortable position. And sometimes it can be just like sitting in a chair, laying in bed, sitting with your feet up a wall. I mean, I love to get into that position where I really feel an uncomfortable feeling. I like to get into that, so I feel like it prevents me from going into shock. So, just sitting with it, allowing yourself to experience that fear, and then truly asking yourself, what's the worst possible thing that could happen if I take one step? with this fear, holding on to this fear, taking it with me, and making a decision to be the person that does X. Like whatever it is for you, being the person that does that thing. And that's where I want to hear from you, right? Like send me an email, send me a message on Instagram. That's where I'll definitely see it. And let me know what it felt like when you took that first step. And then take another step, or pause and then take another step. But that's where it begins, my friends. That's where that adventuring with your fear, giving a name to it, feeling it, and being the person who does the thing anyway. And just remembering that fearlessness is 100% a complete myth. It's not a thing. What is a thing is feeling your fear and being the person who does the thing anyway. Not just, you'll see, feel the fear and do it anyway. But I'm asking you to add an additional layer, and that is to be the person who embraces it, gives it a name, walks with it, and then does the thing anyway. Thank you, my friends. This is always a joy to talk about because, like I said, it is something that comes up time and time again in my professional interactions with my coaching clients. And it's something that I see as really just a pandemic globally, is that we tend to allow our fear to rob us of beautiful years, beautiful experiences, and that truly living the human experience while we're in this one friggin' body, this one chance that we have in this one body that we've been, gifted on this journey of life. So, I could talk about this forever, but I'm going to leave you with that today and ask that you reach back out to me and share your experiences. Thank you so much for listening. Your review and your share on Apple Podcast means the world. And as always, please pop over to thelionsgarden.com and see the things that we have coming up for you over there. Thanks so much, everyone. Talk to you next time.